Are you listening? Damn.
Another episode of Trash Talk. TJ O'Connor here, as always, with my partner Damian, the Wolverine Hill. We're breaking down the LFA 77 card this Friday night, September 27, at Mystic Lake Casino. Doing the breakdowns are some of my favorite things to do. I love getting to talk to the guys, and then when you get a feel for it, now we're 2 days out from the fights, and I'm excited, man.
Yeah, you get a little bit of the inside information from the training camps, from each thing that each fighter is doing in preparation for the fights. And it's just like, oh, wow, now that we know a little bit extra, it's like I'm anticipating the fight that much more. So thank you to all the fighters that have done interviews with us and that will continue to do interviews with us because, man, do we enjoy this so much. And Now to start off the breakdown, TJ, could you give us a rundown of the card?
Yeah, we got 18 total fights. We'll start with the amateurs and work up to the pros. We got Edwin Jimenez going against Josh Clark. That's a banger. Nick Crone versus Shane Abraham. Grant Baudouin versus David Hurlbrink. Katie Koenig versus Shannon Clark. Ryan Shafer versus Swingin' Dick Legis. Thomas Peterson versus Jimmy Barnes. Davey Young versus Kyle Zimick. And then the main event of the amateur portion, Yama Sadozi going against Noah Landis for #talk belt. For the pro card, we got Keegan Blanco, Sean McPadden going against Zack Burrows Nash, Nelly Thompson versus Justin, JP St. Louis versus Scott Ritz, Brandon Jenkins versus Mike Breeden, Nate Richardson versus Matt Jones, Jonas Flock versus Bryce Logan, Kaylin Hull versus Chad Johnson, and then in the main event, we got the LFA World Title fight versus Daniel James and Brett Martin. This is a crazy card from the first fight to the last, and I've had fun talking to all these fighters, and I'm excited to break this one down.
Yeah, you mentioned the first fight of the night, Josh Clark versus Edwin Jimenez. And honestly, dude, that's a fight that's really exciting. And to get the fans that are live at the fights just ready for the rest of the fights, like it's one of those ones that's going to set the tone for the rest of the night. Edwin, in my eyes, is going to be Josh's toughest test in the cage. I was going to say octagon, but it's not always an octagon. But inside the cage, I think Edwin Jimenez is going to be his toughest fight yet, just from what he brings to the table, how calm, cool, and relaxed he is, and also the fact that he's training with an elite level guys at Pura Vida that are just killers and known for killing people. And as we mentioned before, Jake Clipp is not one of those guys that allows guys to fight unless he believes that they're ready. So with his backing and everything, it's just, that there's a lot more behind Edwin than we've seen yet. And I hope Josh is ready for it. Granted that I've been working and known Josh since he's been 8 years old. I know the hard work that he puts in. I know the heart that he has and everything. And in the gym working with grown men daily, man, this is one of those fights, dude. It's just so exciting.
Yeah, this is a crazy fight, and at this weight class, you can almost expect that neither guy is going to get tired. This is going to be action-packed from the bell to bell. These are two crazy good prospects. This fight, is one that you'd expect to see, but I'm glad to see it as amateurs because they're both going to take this experience and learn from it. Josh is obviously number one in the Trash Talk rankings. He's looked amazing. He's fought nothing but tough competition. So that says a lot, what you said about Edwin possibly being his toughest fight yet. This fight, like I said, it has the makings for fight of the night for sure, just because I don't expect either guy to stop moving. And if this is the first fight of the night, it's definitely going to kick off the card, that's for sure. And that leads us into the next fight here that I really wanted to touch on was Katie Koenig versus Shannon Clark. This is going to be the only women's fight of the night. We know when it's a girls' fight, they bring it. I couldn't be more excited for this one. Both gals are well-rounded. We had a chance to talk to both of them, and I think this is going to be a really fun scrap.
Oh, hell yeah. I definitely think so. I know Katie's coming in there to get that first LFA win on the big show and put just get that satisfaction in herself, knowing that she went out there, gave it her all, knowing that she did that every single time, but going out there, giving it her all and getting the win on LFA means that much more, I know, to a lot of these fighters. And then Shannon Clark isn't going to let it be easy. She's not going to give up, and she's good everywhere the fight goes. You don't know what she's going to do, and anywhere you put her, I think she's prepared for it. But not to say that Katie isn't out there training with a bunch of killers herself. Brock Larson, the head coach over at Start BJJ, she's been working with him since the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, that fight speaks for itself. Another really fun one that I think is sliding under the radar maybe is Ryan Shafer versus Dick Legis. This is a scrap. Ryan Shafer, obviously number 4 in the Trash Talk rankings at 155, and Dick's coming for his spot. I had a chance to talk with Dick. We didn't get a chance to sit down for an interview. He was swamped, but I talked to him off camera, and he's very confident about this fight. I expect a banger in this one. Ryan, we talked to him in the interview. He mentioned all the work he's been getting. This card is stacked with Spartan guys, and they've all just been feeding off each other. This fight, like I said, is one that might be flying under the radar with a couple of the other big fights, especially on the amateur and pro side. And I think this one could be a crowd favorite for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys steal the show. Both guys bring it every single time, and I know Ryan's been working over at Spartan with a bunch, like you mentioned earlier, working with a bunch of guys that are preparing for the fight the same night. Like that, iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel, however the saying goes. And, I expect fireworks from him. And then Dick Legis, I do not expect him to make it easy as either. It's like I spoke with him after one of his fights. He is not, it's okay. The best way to put it, as far away from a bitch as you can get. Yeah. He's and super humble dude, but also knows what he's capable of and brings it every time.
Yeah, like I said, I expect that to be a war. And speaking of wars, Thomas Peterson versus Jimmy Barnes. This might be one of the best amateur heavyweight fights in the last couple of years. And that says a lot because on the last LFA show, we had a great one. Thomas Peterson's back again. He's number 1 in the state. He's number 1 in your programs, number 1 in your heart. How can you not like that kid? He's so charismatic, so confident, and then he just has all the skill behind him as well. And, Jimmy's a badass too. Jimmy has flatlined both of his previous opponents. He's had the best training camp of his career. I had a chance. We talked to him on Trash Talk. He was telling us the schedule he's putting in. This guy has put in all of this. Is his first real camp since he joined up at Start BJJ. This is 2 of the top amateur heavyweights that you can find in the area. They're going to get locked in a cage and fight, and that's going to be in about 48 hours. So I couldn't be more excited for that fight. Man.
Yeah, dude. When you talk about heavyweights fighting, it's always usually a crowd pleaser. Everyone likes to see 2 big guys throw down. But when you have the best of the best throwing down, oh, my God. And both guys bring it. Both guys are elite level, and both guys are undefeated, and neither one of them wants to give up that loss to the other guy. That just puts more on the line and more for the fans. Oh, my God. I can't wait for this fight. And you said about 48 hours away from that one. Oh, dude.
And that's just for us. Luckily, by the time this comes out, the fight will be about 24 hours away. So we're even closer. But yeah, as we speak, that fight happens, man. And then speaking of we got 2 guys that are literally fighting for the number 1 spot. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, number 1 spot is what I was just emphasizing, dude. Just these guys are about to throw down, and this is the. Sorry, you say it.
No, you stole the word out of my mouth. Like I said, these guys are literally fighting for the number 1 spot. You got number 2, Kyle Zimick, going against number 3, Davey Young. Felipe was the long ruler at 145. He made a successful pro debut a couple weeks ago. These guys are fighting for the number 1 spot. I think this fight couldn't happen at a better time. Both guys are such strong wrestlers. They're such strong mental fighters. I don't know how either one breaks the other one, and I just know that I want to be sitting really close to the cage to watch this fight.
Oh, hell yeah. And both guys, again, undefeated, 4-0 and versus 6-0. I mean, dude, I'm trying to think of the words to describe how crazy this fight is going to be, especially because I know the mentality personally of Davey Young, and man, is that dude just on a mission. It's so crazy, and I didn't get a chance to speak with Kyle Zimick at all, but man, I'm not doubting him or no shade on him at all, but man, if there's anybody whose mindset that I'm really impressed with, it's Davey Young's, and honestly, Yama Sandozi too. They're two guys that train together, both fighting on the card. But Davey Young's mindset it turns me on. Like, it makes me like a fan of his. I have to watch you now every single time. I have to.
Oh, must watch. That's a must watch fight. And you touched on the next person I wanted to bring up. That's Mr. Yama Sandozi. He's going against number 1 ranked Noah Landers. This is another fight, number 1 versus number 3. This is a banger. This is one that me and you have literally been talking about, both on and off, since since the last time both of these guys fought. We knew about it. It's finally about to happen. You got Noah, who, I mean, obviously state champion wrestler, is a beast, made the transition MMA, picked up 7 wins, 7 dominant wins. I mean, nobody that's been in the cage with him so far, has shown him much. But he's fighting a guy that will do exactly that. He's fighting Yama Sandozi. Number 3 has some of the craziest knockout power at 155 in both hands. It doesn't matter which hand it is. He's a finisher. You're going to talk about a guy coming off a 20-second knockout in his last fight against another ranked opponent. So, I mean, you could say striker versus grappler, but we talked to both. Yama's working his grappling. Noah's working his striking. This is a mixed martial arts fight at its best. I don't want to steal your shine, but the Trash Talk belt's being made for this fight. If you haven't heard about it, Damien's telling you about it right now.
Hell yeah. This is the number 1 spot for the whole state of Minnesota. These guys are the best of the best, and whoever wins, this is a title fight. I don't know. I know it's going down on LFA. I know it's only going to be 3 rounds, but this is a fight that deserves a belt. And I put the order in yesterday. It's not going to be ready before the fights, but it will. Oh my God. Whoever wins this fight, I will be presenting with the Trash Talk belt. You're the Trash Talk champion, 155-pound division. You bring that belt to every fucking fight, and you defend it on every single time you fight until you go pro. That's the way I see it. And I guess I'm gonna have to continue to get that belt made, because the winner of this fight gets it. And we're talking about 2 guys that you mentioned. Yama has been working on his wrestling, or working with a lot of wrestlers, dominant wrestlers. I mean, Davey Young is the guy that we were talking about earlier. I mean, we talk about elite level wrestlers. How much more elite does it get? This guy he's been killing it. And knowing that, speaking to him privately, him getting back to his roots in wrestling, I know that he's been giving Yama probably the best look he's going to get for Noah. But Noah is training with a bunch of guys too that know how to stand, that know how to brawl, that have some power themselves. It's not like he's unprepared or not going to be ready. He's undefeated for a reason, and this fight is a title fight for a reason. I mean, if you guys don't know, check out the fight, and it's self-explanatory, I promise you.
If you don't know, now you know. And then that's a perfect way to wrap up the amateur portion. Getting into the pro portion, I mean, it's just as nuts. We're starting off with Sean Stevens. He's going against Keegan Blanco. This fight's crazy. Sean Stevens, we had a chance to speak to him earlier this week. Such a humble guy. That really picked up, because I truly think that he has the talent to go far. And when you talk to him, he's very down to earth. He's understanding where he's at. I mean, obviously competed for Team USA in the IMMAF tournament over in Bahrain. Multiple times. He's a superior athlete, very good wrestler. He's fighting Keegan Blanco, another guy who has a wrestling base from Nebraska. He's 2-1. I think this is the perfect fight for Sean for his second pro fight. I think it's the perfect step up. but I expect Sean to look really.
Yeah, I agree. And I just want to add to it. Just we've always spoken on the experience that guys can gain as an amateur, not to rush the going pro right away and things like that. But how much tougher does it get? He's had the out of country experience, the out of state experience, all of that stuff, and fighting on not knowing exactly who you're going to be fighting. Basically, every fight's on short notice at that point. I don't think there's going to be anything that shocks him as a pro. And I'm just really excited to see how this fight plays out and how the rest of his career plays out, because I think he's been doing it the right way. And it's been probably one of the tougher routes. And he's still here. He's still doing it. I expect big things.
I agree with you. I think I said, Sean, great gym, obviously, at the academy. He has a lot of good people teaching him, and he's doing it the right way. So I look forward to that fight. Another fight I look forward to is the rematch. It's a guy – we had a chance to talk to both of these guys. We got probably my pick for the prospect that's coming out of Minnesota right now that is – the most complete, Sean McPadden. He's going against Zack Burrows Nash, who is a monster himself. These guys fought as amateurs. They fought at the highest level as amateurs. They competed for the RFA. For the fans that don't know, that was before the LFA. That fight was crazy. These guys have both wanted to go again. I know Burrows Nash was looking for this fight. And Sean's the kind of guy that, you call his name, he's going to sign the piece of paper. So, I know he's been cross-training between the academy and McCoon's, which was his home gym. And, man, I can only expect to see the improvement from him. This might be my take of the fight of the whole night. And this is going to be a pro fight that flies under the radar because of the title fight at the end. But if you're in the building, grab your drink before this fight, sit in your seat, watch an excellent display of martial arts.
Yeah, no, I definitely expect this one to be good, especially because we know Zack Burrows Nash has been extremely motivated after the first fight with him, and wanting this rematch, wanting to go, knowing what he brings to the table, and knowing that he's made a bunch of improvements himself. And you talk about Sean McPadden, you talk about a guy that is one of the highlighted guys that is coming out of Minnesota right now. I mean, man, what can't this guy do? He can submit you, he can knock you out, he can sit and dance with you. He's fast. I've seen a lot of workout videos from him, just footwork drills and stuff like that. And it's like, how are you not impressed? And I've seen it translate into every single one of his fights. He's a guy that started recently cross-training and working with a bunch of other guys. We've already seen what he can bring to the table. We already know how good he is. And now he's working with different people that can show him a different look that might be able to bring more out of him. What's more, oh my God, I'm so excited to see him perform in this fight. And then knowing that Zack Burrows Nash is ready for this fight and looking to go out there and right or wrong in his eyes and just get that self-satisfaction of beating the guy that beat you before, and this time it's as a pro, so it's going to stick. And man, that just puts so much more on the line and makes this fight so much more interesting.
Man, and I don't know what can make that fight more interesting. Another really fun fight that I think the crowd's going to be excited for is Nelly Thompson, a guy coming out of Pura Vida. He's fought at Mystic Lake a couple times. He's going against Justin Transgroot, who, the older fans might remember that name. This is going to be Justin's first fight since 2015. Everybody knows that he's a monster, good wrestler, big, strong guy. And I think Nelly Thompson, is a guy that matches up well with him. Undefeated as a pro now, 3-0. I look forward to seeing that fight. And then Brandon Jenkins is fighting again. Did you know that?
Dude, that's one of the fights. Dude, I've been waiting for so fucking long for this fight, for him to fight. I don't care who he's fighting. It could be my mom. It could be the number one guy in the world for the world title. I just love seeing Brandon Jenkins fight, and he's so amazing every single time. They don't call him the walking highlight reel for no reason.
And I mean, that's the perfect way to phrase it. The only thing that you can expect in a Brandon Jenkins fight is something unexpected. The guy comes, he brings it every time. You never know. He likes to switch it up. He's had this new camp. He's been training out at Syndicate MMA in Las Vegas. I expect to see leaps and bounds and growth from him. And he's going against a guy that's going to come meet him in the middle of the cage and throw hands. Mike Breeden is a striker, too. This isn't a guy that's going to come try to, out-wrestle Brandon. He's going to try to come throw hands for hands with him. And I think that's going to be, man, a crazy fight. And you talk about elite-level strikers. With all due respect to the other 35 people on this card, I think Nate Richardson by far might be he's the most technical striker on this card. If you want to see striking, this is the fight to watch. I mean, Nate he's fought the who's who. He's fought everybody. He's fought MMA, boxing, kickboxing. He went across the world for Team USA and represented them multiple times. Fought in glory. He's coming back to MMA after a little bit of a layoff, but this hasn't been a layoff. He literally was just fighting in glory, fighting the best strikers in the world. And he's fighting another tough one, Matt Jones, a guy that trains down where I'm at in Colorado at Team Elevation. I mean, he's a tough customer. He's going to bring the fight, but I get excited when Nate fights, man. This is a guy that I've literally had the pleasure of come up from the amateur ranks. I remember the first time I seen him fight at the Anoka Armory. We're talking 2011. Nate he's really matured, like I said, into a high-level fighter, and this is a crazy fight.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you when you say that he's probably the most decorated or most technical striker on the card. And somebody shut me up if I'm wrong, but probably the more decorated striker on the fucking card too, with his boxing matches, kickboxing matches, and MMA fights. Grant, this dude, like you said earlier, he just got done fighting for glory, bro. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Get out of here. You think that just happened by accident or by luck? Yeah. Hell no, dude. This dude has fought the who's who, fought everybody, and brings it every fucking time. Like I can't wait to see what he does in this fight. And honestly, I'm gonna call it right now. I expect a knockout by the second round, no later than the second.
Strong words. Another good fight. Jonas Flock versus Bryce Logan. Jonas Flock, another Pura Vida guy. Bryce Logan, he's a guy that I seen a chance to fight. He fought another local Minnesotan, Ken Glenn, in his last fight. Was a controversial decision. I look forward to that fight. Another fight I'm super excited for is the albino rhino, Kaylin Hull. He's fighting Chad Johnson. We had a chance to talk to Mr. Hull leading up to this fight. As always, such a character. And he's just a beast. I mean, you talk to the guy, he's as nice as it can be. He's so soft-spoken. And then the cage shuts and the rhino comes out and whew.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. I want to continue talking about Kaylin Hull. I love that guy, and he's a beast. But Ken Glenn got robbed. Let's move past that. And yeah, Kaylin Hull, dude, honestly, like one of the super nicest guys one of the nicest guys that we've talked to. Super respectful and super humble. I mean, comes out and brings it every single time, though. I've said this about other guys that we've interviewed and talked to. Like basically knowing what they're capable of, but not gonna go out there and throw it in your face every single time. He knows what he's capable of. He doesn't need to tell everybody every single time. You know, he goes out there and he proves it and he does it. And with some of the victories that he's had, dude, can you really deny it? Like if he was to start throwing it in your face, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna sit there and just like take it. I'm gonna listen, you know, because he brings it and he proves it almost every single time, and I expect him to do it again this Friday.
Oh yeah, I mean that's gonna be a crazy fight. His opponent, Chad Johnson, is a mountain of a guy himself. Another big guy.
Yeah, true.
Big knockout power. So that hopefully they reinforce the cage, because not only do we have that fight, but we got the main event of the night where they're fighting for the LFA heavyweight championship of the world. We got Daniel James. He's fighting Brett Martin. These guys, the best part about this fight is they both earned this spot. They did this in a tournament fashion. They both had to go fight another person. win that fight just to be in this opportunity. So this is something where, both guys are hungry. Both guys feel that they're ready for it. Daniel James, we've seen him before, big punches, big power. He's a finisher for sure. Martin's just as tough. What else can I say? This fight is for the heavyweight championship.
You said it. That's it right there.
That's it right there. This card is going to be exciting. Now that you got to be there to see it. Please come out. Trash Talk will be in the building. By the time this comes out, I'm hopping on a plane tonight. I'm flying to Minnesota. We're going to be at the fights. We want to talk to all the fighters. We want to make sure that this fight is going to be crazy. So buy your ticket, be there, or be square. And no one wants to be square.
Hell yeah.
Damn. Yeah. Yeah.